Alright, welcome to Flagship's online training video. If you are watching this, it is most likely because you were unable to make our live training. It is very similar. It's going to cover the same information as our live training, but a little bit different scenarios. And if you have any questions at any time, please just reach out to your coordinator at your school. As well as we're going to be going through a lot of items found in your manual, broken up into sections, and at the end of each section, the video will pause and you will have the opportunity to take a short quiz on the information we just went over. So, welcome. The purpose of this training is for you to get a greater sense of the Flagship program and what we do as an organization, as well as a connection with your Flagship coordinator, your fellow instructors, as well as the students that you'll be working with. An understanding of your role as an instructor and your responsibilities with the Flagship program, and hopefully you'll be gaining an understanding of Flagship and the school policies to ensure healthy, positive relationships and programming. And you hopefully will gain some classroom knowledge, behavior management tools, and if any time you have any questions about that content, check in with your development coordinator. All right, let's go. Woo! So about the Flagship program, the Flagship program is a community school-based partnership. Our mission is to enhance the social, academic, cultural, and physical achievement of Missoula's young people by creating opportunities during non-school hours that help them really succeed and grow to become healthy adults. We began in 1995 and we started as a drug prevention program. We've really evolved in the last 20 years, but that is our core basis is really that drug prevention program. We connect community resources to schools to create opportunities for youth and increasing the focus on academics, attachment to schools, and keeping kids safe after school. Fun with a purpose, essentially. Our program has been part of 2 national studies, pretty cool, and these studies show that the Flagship program is totally working. We knew that. We are achieving goals that we started out to accomplish, and the kids in the Flagship program really value the program. They love it. They think it's awesome. They love the adults part of the program. They love what they're learning, and it really helps them build their social networks, their self-confidence, and really feeling connected to school. As a result, your role in the Flagship program is crucial. You are the protective factor in the lives of these students. You are there one-on-one, making connections, really helping them feel safe and grow, and your role, we couldn't do it without you. So, sit back, and we are going to go through a little bit of your job description. Alright, as we get started on our online journey, Flagship training, hopefully you have in front of you, and you should, if you don't, contact your coordinator right away, a copy of your Flagship manual. You should have received this in your one of your site visits or connecting with your YDC, and you are just going to be able to follow right along. I'll reference page numbers, and I will let you just kind of explore the manual. We are going to start with the job description, and you can find that in the manual to page 4. And your specific duties and responsibilities, really that we're interested in, a huge one is taking attendance. So attendance is how we can show in our data how many students are involved in a program. It's how we know whether a program is successful. We report our attendance to a lot of partner organizations that we work with so that we can grow the program, and so attendance, really important. Next is reporting accidents. If something happens while you are working on the Flagship program, immediately report anything that you might find concerning with your coordinator. That includes if something happens in a classroom. You're in a classroom like this, there's a lot of things in the classroom. If something happens to any of the property in the classroom, please report that right away. If someone falls down and hurts themselves, whatever that looks like, check in with your coordinator right away. That flows right into open communication with your coordinator. Your coordinator is there to support you. We want you to have the best, most successful time with the Flagship program, with the students, and that really it's important that we are talking to each other. You're checking in with your coordinator, let them know how things are going. If you even think something is very small, like Johnny fell and bumped his head, but he seemed really okay, let us know that, because maybe later he isn't feeling okay, and we need to know that, so we can check in with the parents. Promptness. We need you there on time. So it's just, we are asking for 2 hours of commitment, 1 day a week, and we really need you to show up on time so that we can go over whatever our lesson plans are, check in with you, communicate with you, support you. And showing up on time really lets the students know that you care, and that's how the first step to building a really great relationship with your students. The next is cleaning up. So our school staff have really graciously opened up their classrooms to us, spaces in the school, and we need to be really respectful and make sure that we leave them in better shape than we found them. So taking time at the end of your program to make sure the room is clean, the space is clean, everything is in the garbage, all that kind of stuff, really important. Tracking hours. We rely heavily on grants to fund our program. We're not for profit. So making sure that you are keeping a record of your hours, and that flows into taking attendance as well. Those are all really important. And the last one, modeling behavior. Part of the program's goal is to normalize positive behavior, and the students are really looking at you to show how to act and how to behave. And so making sure that you are really following those, being respectful, being helpful, being kind, listening, all of those great skills that we are encouraging them to follow and live up to, and that really defines the Flagship program. Our next section, and I feel like probably one of the most important sections that we have in this training video, is safe touch. And really what we would really like you to take away is that the child has control of the touch. And so limit touch to avoid confusion. And so what we mean by that is that when you lift up a student or tickle a student, or maybe you touch the back of their head and the child isn't ready for that touch, or they didn't ask to engage in that touch, that can make them feel really unsafe and really uncomfortable. So some of the appropriate touch that we are looking for that's okay, that we really encourage, is a shoulder-to-shoulder side hug if a student is coming in for a hug, handshakes, high fives, and then really if you're unsure, just getting permission, like, hey, let's high five, or whatever that looks like. And you'll really get to know your students and learn your students. And some of the don'ts that are really personal are touching a student's hair, a head, piggyback rides, sitting on laps, full frontal hugs, tickling, wrestling, or anything that really takes the control away from the student. Our next section that we would like to cover is substance abuse. So all schools are drug-free workplaces and programs. And we are a drug and alcohol prevention-based program. So we do not tolerate any substance abuse in our programs. So using before or during instructor hours is not permissible, and no tobacco use in the presence of children. And some of what we do is, you may encounter this in your program, is what happens when the students in your program want to engage in a conversation about drugs and alcohol. So in a lot of our after-school programs, we have created this environment that is really comfortable and really fun, and you're this really cool adult that they look up to and they start to feel comfortable with, and they may start asking you questions about drugs and alcohol. And I think one of the train of thoughts that we often have is telling kids or students about the worst experience you have, or talking to them about it, and thinking that they're going to take away, oh, hey, hey, that was terrible. But really, in actuality, what a student will take away from engaging them in a conversation about drugs and alcohol is that, whoa, you're so cool and you did it. That's awesome. I can do it. So what we really encourage is just letting students know that their brain isn't developed yet, and when we experiment with drugs and alcohol with our brain not developed, it can really have long-lasting effects. And if you find that you have students or a student who really engages in these conversations a lot, check in with us as a coordinator so that we can follow up and that we can give them the appropriate help or engage them in the appropriate conversations. Dress code. What do I wear to Flagship? Pretty simple and easy. We expect you to dress professionally and appropriately. Inappropriate clothing, we consider anything that has a drug or alcohol reference, logo, label, and you might not even think about it in terms of, hey, I just ran a really cool race this weekend. That race was sponsored by the Kettle House, and that may be somewhere on your shirt. So just being aware that our community, we have a lot of community events that are sponsored by breweries or whatever that looks like, and making sure that we aren't wearing those to Flagship, as well as anything that has offensive labels, logos, or has inadequate covering. And you can see by this diagram, we would like to have your shoulders covered, no low tops, midriff area and back are covered. Just really making sure that what you're wearing is professional and appropriate, and then also appropriate for the activity that you're running. If your activity is outside, we expect that you are dressed to play outside. And if your activity is running around, we expect that you are wearing sneakers and that you are ready to play. Next is cell phone use. We have them, we use them. They can be a great tool, but during the program, what we find is that if you are engaged on your phone, you are not engaging with the student. So our expectation is that your phone is away while you're at Flagship, and that the student's phone is away as well. There may be some circumstances while you're waiting for a phone call, and we can be relatively flexible. Check in with your YDC. And then some other points to really mention are that at no point in time should you be exchanging phone numbers with a student, or Facebook or email, or any communication outside of Flagship. And then as well, if a student asks you, hey, I need to use your phone, I need to call my mom, or what games do you have, or have you tried this cool app, you should be not sharing your phone with students at all. If it is a concern about a student needing to call home, then your coordinator can come and help that student out. And it's not our expectation that you are sharing your phone with the student. So just put it away, have fun, and play. We are mandatory reporting. We are mandatory reporters. And so the beauty of the relationship that you will develop with the students is that you kind of get into this like really cool, awesome, comfortable relationship, and they may feel so comfortable with you that they are going to share information about their lives that could require you to report that information. And during that process, you will always be supported by your coordinator, and you will never have to go through this process alone. But some steps to handling reportable information: listening attentively, letting the students speak freely, and just showing support and believing their story, reassuring the student, maintaining confidentiality with the coordinator, and this one is really important, is not making promises about not telling anyone. So if a student comes to you and says, hey, I've got a secret and I can't have you tell anybody, I want to tell you something about what's going on at home, but I need you to promise not to tell anyone. Your response to that is, I really am interested in keeping you safe, and I won't tell anyone who doesn't need to know, but I'm going to have to tell someone. But I won't tell anyone who doesn't need to know. You can't make those promises, and the next step would be calling Child Protective Services as necessary. You will be doing that with your coordinator, with support of your coordinator, and then filling out a Flagship and MCPS incident report, again, totally supported by your coordinator. Talking to parents. So you may be super comfortable talking to kids, and then you think about talking to parents and you're like, oh no, I'm gonna have to talk to parents. Most of the time, you will never have to really talk to parents about anything that is uncomfortable or unnecessary. We'll support you in that, but you may have a parent come pick up and you only wanna talk to those parents about their student. And as well, and beginning and ending positively. So if a parent comes in and says, how was Susie's day? And maybe Susie really struggled with her day, letting them know that, oh, she came in and she was so happy and excited, and she was really engaged when we did this, but then she really struggled with being kind to some of her friends. But then when we talked about it, she was a really great listener, and she ended up talking to that student and being really kind. So kind of that beginning and ending positively, and then just cite any specific behavior and consequences. And if this is something that you feel really uncomfortable with, just really checking in with your coordinator. If it's something that really needs to be discussed, your coordinator can help you out with that. This is a volunteer position. We understand that, we respect that. However, we take this really seriously, and you should as well. So we can at any time, based on your performance, habitually being late, showing up under the influence, receiving a DUI during your time with Flagship, those can be all things that we can ask you to no longer participate in our program. For a more in-depth lift of those, you can turn to page 8 in your manual. So when you come to the end of your Flagship experience, we hope that you've had a wonderful experience, and the students have as well. And our expectation is that you end all communication with Flagship students after the session ends. So we are not interested in you having a Facebook conversations with students, giving out your numbers, babysitting for the families. And if you are really feeling like you had such a great experience and attached to the students, come back and volunteer next semester or next year. And you can always let the students know how great of a time you've had and that you are interested in coming back to their school and helping again. For this next section, we are going to be looking at behavior management. And this includes building relationships, behavior management strategies, steps and consequences, Flagship discipline referral system, and then our tips for behavior management and engagement. And really we're hoping we can provide you with some tools that you might not already have, or really reinforce the tools that you already know. Our next section is building relationships, and this is going to be the key to your success in the Flagships program with the students as well. They are going to become more open and willing. They're going to be more receptive to you and the program. And some of those ways that you can do that, learning their names. That is my number one suggestion, is learning their names as fast as you can. Second is activities and games. Use these in your program. The students, when you all start building relationships, when they get to know the students in the programs and you get to know them, everybody is going to have just a better time and feel more comfortable, and it's going to be more successful. You'll go through some icebreakers and activities maybe in your practice week if you haven't done that already. Show them that you care. That's what arriving on time, learning their names, remembering things about them, asking them how their weekend was, what books do they read, what movies they like. Show them that you are really invested and you are interested in getting to know them. Listen unintentionally. So listening what they have to say, uninterrupted. Sometimes the stories get wild and crazy and hilarious and funny and you don't know where they're going, but just listening and showing that you care. Sensitivity to their circumstances. So a lot of our students, we have no idea what's going on in their lives outside of school, just like there's a lot going in your life outside of school. So just really respecting and being sensitive that there is a lot going on outside of the program. Maybe they had a really terrible day at school. They're going to bring that after school. So just having patience and respect to where they're at. And then creating a safe environment. And creating a safe environment, really you can do that by letting them know that you expect the same expectations after school as during the school day, being respectful, being safe, being kind, and setting those up, following through on what you say and what you're going to do, learning their names. That all builds a really safe environment for them. Behavior management strategies. If you have your manual open, you can turn to page 10, and this really goes in depth about behavior management strategies. So I'm just going to really highlight and talk about the ones that we have here on the slide, and rewarding positive behavior. If you want someone to continue doing something awesome, let them know how awesome they're doing. So if a student is being really kind by opening the door without asking, let them know specifically, hey, Susie, that was awesome that you opened the door for us. That was really being respectful and kind. So being specific and rewarding that positive behavior, motivating students. Your energy is what motivates them. So come in with a really excited, positive attitude, but then letting them know that if they're being really loud, jumping right in immediately, letting them know the sooner that we're quiet, the sooner we can get started. Make a point. Simple actions can address inappropriate behavior without calling attention. And we never want to call out a student when we are addressing behavior. Just sitting next to them and being quiet, or talking to them privately after about the behavior. But just making sure that you are addressing that behavior right away and making a point of doing so. Following through the consequences. So this one is really important. So an example would be an appropriate consequence if you are not sitting and being quiet so we can get started. We are not going to be able to get to our super fun activity at the end of the day because I'm afraid we're going to run out of time. Instead of saying, if we are not super quiet right now, we are going to sit here during the whole Flagship program and not do anything and be quiet. That is an unrealistic consequence. We are not going to be able to sit for an hour and a half and be quiet. And try new strategies. Get creative. Check in with your coordinator. Ask for support. That's what we're here for. And then separate students from the group. If you have a situation where something really needs to be addressed, again, making sure that is private, we're not making a student feel uncomfortable in front of everyone else and checking in. And again, if you need help or suggestions, really check in with your coordinator.
Hope you read a nerd.
Well, it's indicative of his aesthetic mind.
You look so dumb, you're a nerd.
I suggest you break his
dumb nerdy
kneecaps,
things like
Owen.
Star Wars and
Parents get
comic
to
books
women die.
and dumb super.
You're an orphan?
Oh, you're so dumb, man. Look at how dumb and fat you are.
Owen, could you come with me for a minute, please?
So, how you doing?
So Owen, I noticed you were picking on Nate a lot there. What's going on?
I've been having a real hard time with school, and my grades are all terrible now, and my dad's been drinking a lot, and I've been having a real hard time in general.
Sounds like you've been really going through a tough time lately. I'm still a little concerned about how you're then treating Nate. Do you think that was fair?
No. No.
So, how do you think you're going to make that up to Nate?
I'm gonna apologize, definitely.
Good.
Listen, man, I'm sorry for all the names I called you, and I've been having a real hard time in school, and I'm sorry I hit you. All my grades are doing poorly. I've got F's across the board, and my dad's been drinking a lot lately, and I've been having a bad time recently. I'm sorry for...
I forgive you.
Indeed, Nate. My support of his tyranny and my mocking you on account of your being an orphan was simply unjustifiable, and it
I forgive you.
And then in accordance with the behavior management, we do have some tips. They are located on page 11 of your manual. Some of my favorites that I use frequently are special jobs. So you have a student who has got just a lot of energy, and maybe they're talking while you're talking. Give them something else to do. Give them a special job, get them to help you. Chances are they really just need someone to interact with, engage with, and I find that can help with a lot of behavior management. Again, using the students' names. It is really difficult to manage that behavior if you don't remember their name. Hey, you, stop doing what you're doing. Doesn't work. Hey, Susie, I can see that maybe you're not as focused right now. Let's check in, find out what's going on. And then really, I like to just talk to the student. Just find out what's going on. Hey, Johnny, I notice usually you are really super excited, and right now I can see that maybe you're feeling really mad or stressed. What's going on? How can I help you have a successful flagship? So read through those, come up with plans, solutions, and what you might use in your program. Let's try that one again. All right, next one is our top 10 student engagement tips. It's located on page 12 of your manual. You're going to be leading a group of students. Some of these are going to be really helpful for you, and you may have some that you already use, and some of these are new to you. My favorites that you should really get familiar with, I think that you'll use all the time in your time with Flagship, is attention getters. Get creative on how you're going to get the room to listen to you, whatever that looks like. And then teach it to them on your first day. So maybe it looks like every time I say, hey Flagship, you say, hey what? Practice it a few times. Let them know that's how you're going to get their attention. Having transition activities. You are going to be going outside, having snack, doing an activity. Figure out how you're really going to engage them in the times that we are in transition. Icebreakers, having a couple of little games that the group really likes to do. Play those on the first day, and then bring them back when there's some downtime. And then really just establishing those routines, letting them know what they are, following them, and above all, having fun. So this online training is really just a time for us to really get the ball rolling, and we really just the tip of the iceberg or the bottom of the mountain with these behavior management. These are just some really beginning tools to get you to start thinking about how you're going to manage your flagship groups. There's a lot of more resources in the manual that you can read, as well as check in any time with your flagship coordinator if you want additional games, ideas, you want to brainstorm some ways to really manage your group, and you'll get to know more as you get to know your group. Woohoo! You have survived your flagship online training, and we have met our goal. I'm hoping that you have taken away some information about the flagship program that you didn't know, learned some skills, learned some tools, and that you are really excited to get started with flagship in your awesome instructor mentor leadership role. At any time that you have any questions about this training, there was something that you didn't know or didn't learn, or you want to explore some more ideas, check in with your flagship coordinator, as well as let them know, take a minute, email them, let them know that you finished this training, and making sure that you've finished all of the quizzes, and yeah, ready to start, ready to have fun.